Hi folks, it's John Nizman from lastchanceautorestore.com. What I'd like to do is share with you one of the project vehicles that we've purchased that we're going to do a restoration on later. This is a 1969 Pontiac Firebird Convertible. Really nice car from far away. It's probably been painted 2 or 3 separate times. Probably hard to see in the video, but there's some different colors. The panels have been changed, the fenders have been replaced with cheaper aftermarket ones. The rear quarter panels have been replaced and not in the proper position, and the doors will need replacing. What we did is we've got certain vehicles that we really like in terms of style or value or a number of things, and one of our favorite cars is this particular model, because in 1969 they were a wider vehicle, and me prefer the Pontiac over the Chevrolet Camaro, which it's a rarity. Most people prefer the Camaro. But this particular car is very drivable the way it is right now, but it's going to need or require a ground-up restoration. So like I say, from 25 feet away kind of thing, it looks kind of neat. We purchased it from a man who was a mechanic, so the brakes, the suspension, the exhaust, and the engine has had work done to keep it on the road. So a very fun car to drive, but it does require or deserve a full ground-up restoration. So some features I'd like to share with you. First of all, in 1969 the nose cone's a little bit different in terms of style, in where they moved the marker lights and the signal lights on the side, the little lenses. There was basically 2 or 3 different engines available. This is what some people would call the poor man's convertible. They came in a 6-cylinder. They also came with an 8. This particular one is the 350 V8, but just a 2-barrel carburetor. They also had a 400 engine with more power and a more aggressive hood, kind of like a snorkel hood. This car here we can have a lot of fun with because it's not a numbers matching car, meaning the engine, transmission, body, and frame is not all numbers matching. Everything is numbers matching, but the engine itself, it's out of another Firebird. So this particular one could be a resto mod. We could turn it into a Trans Am tribute car. We could turn it into a 400 car. We could put fuel injected in it. There's a number of things we can do with this particular model. I think what would be kind of neat would be probably upgrading the engine just a little bit, tweaking this 350 for a 4-barrel, upgrading the intake and exhaust, keep it as an automatic. We could easily make it a manual transmission if a client wished to do that. So what I'll do is I'm just going to pull up the hood and show you how tidy it is. Okay, so as we mentioned earlier, this car was owned by a mechanic, so he's done some basic detail work. You can see the original 350 2-barrel Pontiac sticker, a couple of the GM decals on it. The radiator has been replaced. The metal in terms of the inner fenders and radiator and front apron and all that sort of thing is in very nice condition. We don't like these fenders. They're a very cheap, thin aftermarket fender. The fit and finish isn't the same as what we normally use, which is Goodmark, but very tidy underneath the hood, and it's respectable for zipping down the street to get an ice cream or what have you for now, until we have a chance to do a total ground-up restoration on this particular car. So that's what it looks like under the hood. You can see that they've added the stripes on it. They've also added this neat little hood tack, which you can now buy aftermarket. You couldn't get these before, but now they're available. They generally came on the 400s, I believe, with the more aggressive hood, and then also with the Trans Am hood, which has the long tunnels down both sides with the snorkel intake in the front. Really like that style of car with the Trans Am style hood. You'll see along the sides, nice little louvers, nice body lines. Great choice with tires. Those are the PMD center caps, accurate for this year being 69, having the red Pontiac Motor Division. And then very nice handling tires, the BF Goodrich radial TAs, front disc brakes. and rear drums and their power, and they work quite well. You'll see on the inside the upholstery is very tired. It's going to require complete new interior in terms of the upholstery, the door panels, and that sort of thing. But it's a nice, structurally sound car to start with, and the floor is in very good shape. It's going to need a little bit of work just underneath the passenger seat, and then obviously we're going to do quarter panels because we don't care for these cheaper aftermarket quarter panels. So we'll put like a good mark, the quality quarter panels on it, probably inner tubs, but it's one of those things that you don't know until you completely disassemble the car to see how far we need to go to make the car perfect. It has a couple of nice features. So you've got, as I mentioned, the front disc brakes and their power. You have power steering, the automatic transmission, the basic dash. Now this is a one-step upgrade with the fake walnut look. A feature that we really like is the power top. So it's a fully power top with the motor still working, operating fine. So with this being a resto mod style or authentic, there's lots of options of what we can do with this particular car. So it's basically a clean slate that we can build it however the client would like it built. You'll notice along the back, this spoiler on the rear is not accurate. This is actually a Camaro spoiler. Pontiac and Chev Camaro in '69 being wider by 2 inches, they shared the trunk lids, they're identical. However, in '69, Pontiac had a very specific rear spoiler, which we have a supplier for, which has a pedestal on either end, and it's a raised spoiler. So it's a Pontiac exclusive, and it's a 1-year only spoiler that they did in '69 because of the width of the car, and we're going to make that correct. We're going to replace this. There's quite a bit of body filler in this rear trunk lid, and this being a Camaro spoiler just isn't right for this particular car, being the Firebird. And then you'll see in terms of the trunk, decent sized trunk. It still has the original vinyl on the inside. If we look really closely, you will be able to notice that the quarter panels have been done. There's quite a bit of body filler in here. So where they did the seams and the joints, you'll notice on the, which has a power antenna as an option, you'll see there's some cracking here. I'm assuming that what they've done is they've done the, when they did the quarter panels on them, these being the cheaper ones, if you notice, if you step back a little bit, the bumper is actually tapered or pointing down. So what that tells me is whoever did this aftermarket quarter panel either didn't have the quarter panel in the correct position, or it's a cheaper quarter panel because the hole and the bracket where the bumper attaches, this bumper should be in a straight line, and obviously it's crooked or tapered down. So me being anal, stuff like that really drives us crazy. We don't like to see the cheaper panels that don't fit right and the thinner metal. But it's a clean canvas to basically build whatever the client would like. It's something that we've driven a few times, zipping around town to run a couple of errands, and drivability, very solid car, drives very well. And what I'll do is I'll just start the engine just so you can hear it, because it's a normal 350 2-barrel with a mild dual exhaust on it, so it's not overly loud or offensive, but it's a nice cruising car. So we'll just start this engine up for you so you can hear it. So the odometer is showing, looks like 14,834 miles. We're not exactly sure. The client that we purchased it from, not sure if it's 100 or not, but when we go to do a total ground up restoration on this car, if we do a true ground up where we do engine, subframe, and complete, what we'll do is we'll document the mileage, but then we'll reset everything to 0. So after this car is completely rebuilt, it will have the odometer showing 000 after a total rebuild. It sounds quite nice. And then the power top works quite well. It will need some work. The frames on them, they tend to sag in this model. They tend to sag in the centerpiece. You'll see when this one comes down that it's not adjusted properly. So you see the kink here. It's one of the fun things that we'll need to do when we do the ground up restoration on this car, is the frame will need quite a bit of work. It's not bolted to the body in the right position. So we'll need to work on that. But once again, very strong structure. The motor, the wiring, everything works quite well. And this is what we like. We like to have a car that all the components are there, and all we need to do is just tweak them. So once again, I'm John Nizman from lastchanceautorestore.com. You can reach me by email at john@lastchanceautorestore. Thanks for watching, and look forward to some of our other videos.